welcome to another episode of Practical IT. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Endless OS. We'll get this OS installed in VirtualBox and take a look around. Let's get started. Alright, I've done the prep work in VirtualBox, so we're going to go ahead and click the start button and get the install going. I am booting from an ISO over my network, so it might take just slightly longer to get the initial screen up to get things moving. And it looks much better. Jump into scaled mode again. So while this is getting started, the cool thing about Endless and Endless OS is that they have built this in a fashion such that it can be used completely offline. It was originally meant for computers that they built that were destined for countries that might not have internet access, or not full-time internet access anyways. So it was very important when they designed this that they could have everything available and not require internet access. So let's run through this install here. So next, new format, existing, Endless Basic, that's fine. VirtualBox hard drive, erasing all files. And so it's going to go ahead and start copying. One thing that I did read about this week is actually related to Endless, and they have launched a game studio to start building games, and they have actually released a few already. But they're building games that will help teach kids coding while playing the game. So they've got one that is called Frog Smash, which, if you're old school like I am, you will recognize it as being a derivative of Frogger, but they've implemented this in such a fashion that it has features where you can change the AI in the game so that you can do better. So this will be interesting to play with and test out once we get this installed and install a couple of the games. We will take a look at those and see what we can do with them. On that note, I'm going to step away for a moment, and I'll be back when we reach the next step in the install process. Alrighty, we have reached the end of the first part of the install. It's prompting us to power off, and we'll do so and then remove the ISO image from the virtual optical drive, and then we'll get restarted. We'll go to settings, storage, and we'll remove disk from drive, and then we'll restart this, and it will jump us back into the rest of the install process where we'll add users and other fun stuff. I do like that animated splash screen there. It adds a nice touch. This is taking a hot minute to start up. Here we go. Alright. So next. And they've got their license agreement. Accept and continue. We're going to skip online accounts. Alright. Pretty painless there. So this has a little bit different look and feel than most Linux distributions. So we'll see what their no apps are open. So we got an App Center, Chrome, Documents. What's this guy over here? Okay, that's my user, which I want to change that. I don't like the flower. So let's see. Can we change that? See if we can change the background too. That looks pretty nice. Okay, so details, users. Yeah, I want to get rid of that. Okay, let's do palm tree. That looks better. All right. Let's take a quick look at the App Store, or App Center as they call it. And there's one game in particular that I am interested in trying out, and that is called Frog Squash. And so hopefully we can load this up. And see what it's like. Alright. That was fairly quick actually. Kill that. And it did not get automatically added to games. So let's take a look. As it turns out, VirtualBox Guest Editions were pre-installed for us, which is a nice touch. I have to give endless props on that. So we've reset our screen resolution to 1440 by 900, which is very usable. And we'll see if we can launch Frog Squash again. And it just does not want to seem to launch. We'll see if we can track down the issue for that later. So if we go to Documents, it's going to give us a pretty standard GNOME file manager. LibreOffice is the Flatpak version. It is on version 6232, which is pretty current. We launch Google Chrome, and sure, let's make Chrome the default browser, at least for now. And if we take a look at about Google Chrome, we are on version 74. So we are doing really well all around as far as being updated on things. The OS on a whole seems to be pretty responsive. It's running Network Manager, and so it's got your standard settings for all that, which actually just pushes us to the settings application. Not sure why that's saying 100 megabit when it's a gigabit adapter. I've got gigabit virtual adapter I've got on here, but that's alright. Being a VM doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Yeah, let's take a look at sharing real quick. Just curious there. Pretty standard stuff. Let's jump back to Documents real quick like. Other locations. It does show my NAS devices and my Linux machine. So we're going to connect to Lord Nikon, which is my QNAP NAS, and see if they'll cooperate with us. Oh, that's interesting. Install some apps to discover great content. That is cool. Little shader coming down from the top. While we're waiting to see if that's going to cooperate, let's take another jump back into the App Center real quick like. And under Featured, you've got all kinds of educational stuff, from world literature to maternity. And pretty much everything in between all that. It's even got a Bible app in the store by default, displaying under the Featured heading. We go into Learning. Things continue to get interesting. And I still have not been able to make Frog Squash run, which I was really curious about. But let's just poke around. You've got Facebook loaded by default, which I believe just opens a browser version. Libreoffice, your file manager, Google Chrome, WhatsApp, which I've never used, YouTube, multimedia, which is photos, Spotify, Get Spotify to be specific, and videos, Curiosity, Duolingo, not sure what that is, Games to Hack, get Unity. Social has Twitter, email, Skype, and Gmail. Got music, Frog Squash with a no-go, and then, of course, our App Center. So let's see if we can find something else that we might be able to test out. Guessing some of these games are just not going to run as much as I'd like to play around with them, but let's, just for the sake of argument, try Aqueducts and see if we can get that to go. I would hope that we'd be able to get one of these games going, but I'm not really that much of a gamer, and so if there are tricks to getting stuff to work in VirtualBox, feel free to let me know in a constructive manner in the comments, and I will take that into consideration in future videos. At the moment, I don't have a spare physical machine to try this out on, or it would very likely be on a machine, because this is a pretty interesting OS and something I would like to experiment with and maybe put in front of my nieces and see how they react to it. We'll see if Aqueducts runs. And this is not looking encouraging. Alright, I'll give this another moment and we'll move on. The screen's back in full color, so I'm going to take it that's a no-go. So, go back, check out work, and see what we've got here. Abby Word, agenda, all stuff that you're probably used to seeing in other app stores. Interesting selection here. A few that I've not seen before, but a dedicated resume builder. That might be interesting. I'm just curious to see, and I believe they're using mostly flat packs in Endless OS. I'm just curious to see if we can get anything that we download to run, or if there's some other issue underlying our problem. See if we can launch the resume writer. Well, that looks better. Or maybe not. Not responding. Do wait. Okay, so we've got templates. Interesting templates. And they open in LibreOffice. That's not a bad thing. A little intrigued by this, just to see if these are different than the standard resume templates that you can get for LibreOffice. Objective, which I keep getting told lately that this is an old style for resume. Education, employment, and skills. That's interesting there. Let's jump back into our App Store. Photo editors. Look at utilities. Alright. I do like that they've got PDF Slicer and PDF Tricks. Good utilities to have around. Authenticator. Another password manager here. Bitwarden. Data flight config. What is this? Okay, for a flight control simulator. Or control system. Dippy. More file managers, DOSBox, dynamic wallpapers. Put that in. Again, it's for GNOME Shell. So this should work on other distributions as well. I do think it's interesting that Endless is promoting flat packs so hard. Very Very interesting. Not something I've seen really in any other distribution up to this point. All that's installing. We'll take a look at some of the other ones here. File roller, FreeTube, YouTube app for privacy. Lots of good tools. Lots of things that I've not seen before. All right, so the my basic assessment of Endless OS is that it would be very useful for kids, for people that are getting a first machine and have no prior experience with any of these apps. I think there's a lot of good in this OS and the way they have simplified it and made it really accessible for the needs of, especially with their original aim on third world countries, where there might not be internet access, which I believe is why they're pushing Flatpak so much, because you can bring them in on optical discs or USB drives or what have you, and drop them on a network that's not connected to the internet and be able to install them on multiple computers. So based on my playing around with this, I would definitely give it a thumbs up. I would definitely recommend checking it out. If you've got an older machine, it may be very useful for repurposing that machine and handing it off to a school-age kid that doesn't have any huge requirements yet, and they can learn about computers in a safe way and not break the bank in the process. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, and click the bell icon for notifications. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.